We're all called by baptism to be missionary disciples of our Lord Jesus Christ. Friends, today we celebrate the feast of Saints Simon and Jude. I'd like to suggest that all of us, by our baptism, are called, like them, to choose Jesus Christ and to be missionary disciples of his good news. Let me share a true story. The actor Jim Caviezel had been in Hollywood for a few years and experienced rejection after rejection. And finally, he decided to go on one more audition before giving up. The Hollywood director, Terry Malick, had invited him to come to the director's home to discuss a role in the film The Thin Red Line. When Jim arrived a few minutes late, he leaped from his car with the rosary wrapped around his fist. He had been praying during the ride over to the director's home. He considered returning to the car and leaving the rosary there, but then he decided, no, I'm not embarrassed by the rosary of Our Lady. So he approached the house with the rosary still wrapped around his fist. He rang the doorbell, and a lady greeted him warmly at the door. Then she looked at him and at the rosary wrapped around his fist, and she said, "Oh, you have a rosary. I lost my favorite rosary recently." Jim took the rosary from his hand and handed it to this lady that he assumed was the maid. When she called Terry Malick to announce that Jim Caviezel had arrived, the director came down the stairs, went over to the maid, and kissed her on the cheek. This was not the maid, but it was Mrs. Malick. And Mrs. Malick said to her husband, "This young man should get the part," which he did. He got that role, and it was a turning point in his career in Hollywood, but also his life as a young Catholic man. And then flash forward a few years to 2004. Jim Caviezel's manager, Beverly Dean, persuaded him to visit Family Theater Productions on Sunset Boulevard, founded by Venerable Patrick Peyton. As Jim was being shown around Family Theater, his guide told him the picture on the wall was of Father Patrick Peyton, the founder of Family Theater. Jim stopped aghast and said, "I have been here before, and now I remember. I was a young actor in Hollywood, not leading a very good life, and I was planning to go to the Seventh Veil across the street from Family Theater when I saw the billboard above your building with the famous saying, 'The family that prays together stays together.' And I said to myself, what is that doing in the middle of Hollywood?" I had heard that phrase often growing up, and now I was surprised to see it here. So instead of going to the Seventh Veil, I turned right and I drove into your parking lot, rang the doorbell, and an elderly priest answered the door. It was him, pointing to Father Peyton on the wall. I did not know where or how the words came out of me, but I heard myself saying, "Father, would you hear my confession?" He said, "Son, come in." He heard my confession. As I said, I was not leading a very good life at that time. He was tough on me. And then at the end of confession, he said, "Young man, you have to choose, either to be faithful to our Lord in Hollywood or not. If you choose to be faithful to our Lord in Hollywood, you will do important work." He became the actor who played the role of Jesus in The Passion of the Christ. In the gospel today, Jesus, after praying, chooses the apostles Simon, Peter, James, John, Simon and Jude, and the others. And they must choose. They can follow him and become missionaries of the good news, disciples of the Lord, or not. Every day when we wake up, we must choose to be missionary disciples of the Lord or not. We choose either to give life to our family and friends or to deal out death to them. You must choose. I must choose every day.